Good evening. Gonna get started here shortly. We are live on three different platforms. So TikTok, you're next to me. You're not directly in my face, but I will be looking over to address you. And then, of course, I am on Facebook because that really helps the local community, as well as my YouTube channel, which is Pretty Petty Politics. So if you are not subscribed to the YouTube page, please subscribe, like, follow, share on all platforms. Please like, follow, and share, but definitely subscribe to our YouTube. Tonight, if you know someone who lives in Texas, if you live in Texas, this video is for you. Um, this recording is for you. Again, it will be archived. It's live recording, but the recording will be archived and available on YouTube for the foreseeable future. So tonight, I've been waiting to do this video. It had been rumored, very boldly rumored, and I was very confident that it was going to occur, but we are very closely approaching having a special session in the Texas State Legislature focused on redistricting. And this is totally political. The whole purpose of this is political. Let me clean this screen over here. That's better. The whole purpose of this is political for these midterm elections that are approaching November 2026. So, in an attempt to better empower one party over the other, so this is totally political, um, President Trump has requested of Governor Greg Abbott, the governor here in Texas, to do a special redistricting. Redistricting generally, y'all, it's so much I had to write down notes. But redistricting generally takes place following a US Census. And we know the US Census is collected every 10 years. In years that end in zero. And then right thereafter, state legislative bodies, they do redistricting according to their growth or lack of growth, because a state can either gain or lose congressional districts. So if you're just joining us, if this is your first time here, I am the Pretty Professor. We talk about government and politics. That is what I do full time, and that is what I do here on social media most of the time. Sometimes I just be acting silly, but generally, information, especially if I'm going live, I am talking about something within the political realm or within government, as that is my area of expertise and my passion, along with cooking. So, first thing I want to tell you is Pretty Petty Politics will be pivoting soon. And as we pivot, it will have the same content, but it will just integrate my love for food. And so, you've heard me talk about the kitchen cabinet before. So, it's a marriage between politics and food. So if you're just joining us for the first time, again, I am the Pretty Professor. This is Pretty Petty Politics, soon to be the kitchen cabinet. You'll know us by our colors. We're going to always be pink and blue. I did not mean to wear pink tonight. This is just what I wore to teach earlier today. But nevertheless, let's get into it. Tonight, we are doing what I call Texas Watch. I think on TikTok, I named tonight's video, This Ain't Texas, but it is. Um, and so this really is Texas. We are a very hyper political state. What happens in Texas does influence the rest of the nation. We are the second most populated state in the union, just coming in behind California. We have had steady growth over the last 90, 2000, 2010, 2020. So over the last four census, we have steadily grown. And so you will, if you check the records, you will see how our congressional representation has grown as well as our electoral votes have grown because they're both based off of population. Now, I'm not going to go back and reteach things that I taught online here on TikTok and YouTube these past several months, but if you just remember when the US Constitution was created, this is going to be quick. When the US Constitution was created, section Article 1, excuse me, Article 1. So the very first thing you get after the preamble is dealing with representation. It's dealing with the Congress, the legislative body. And so the biggest struggle when they were writing the Constitution back in those 1700s, late 1700s, was how representation was going to work. So they came up with two solutions, which created a bicameral government, bicameral legislative body. So you have the Senate, every state has two, and then you have the House of Representatives, which is based on population, okay, which is based on population. It doesn't matter if you are free, if you are a non-citizen, if you are here legally or illegally, if you're present in any state during a census, you leaders want you counted because that boosts money and resources for their state. So they want you counted during those censuses. Those censuses will later turn into how funding is done as well as how representation is calculated and will determine how many congressional districts your state will have. So in the last US Census, Texas increased its representation in the House, growing by 2 new congressional districts. Okay, we grew by 2 congressional districts, bringing our total electoral college vote to 40. So we went from 36 to 38, plus the 2 US senators, that's 40 electoral votes, but 30 congressional districts in the House of Representatives. Now, what does that have to do with today? Well, on yesterday, Wednesday, Governor Greg Abbott announced a special session and what he plans to achieve through this special election. And I'm going to be quoting an article from the Texas Tribune. The Texas Tribune is one of my go-to sites when I want to look at things specific to Texas. And I do encourage you to donate to the Texas Tribune. Their website is texastribune.org. Again, that is Texas Tribune. And I'm going to put it in the, I'm going to put it on, what is this called? YouTube, so y'all can see it across the screen. If you're on Facebook or if you're on, what's the other one? TikTok. Again, it's texastribune.org. And again, you can always go back and catch the replay. You can share the replay from the YouTube page. You can text that to people. You can post it on Threads, X, wherever you want to. Email it to a friend, your grandma, I don't care. But if you know somebody in Texas, this is information for them to see. So let me get into my notes. And there are 2 things I want to cover. I want to talk about this special session, and maybe I get around to Ken Paxton, but Ken Paxton is not nearly as important as the news about Ken Paxton, is not nearly as important as the special session in Texas. So again, if you are in Texas, you have family in Texas or friends in Texas, you want to focus on this this episode, this recording of Pretty Petty Politics. So again, Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas, announced a move, and I'm kind of quoting the Texas Tribune, but a move to carve out additional GOP seats. So the only way they can carve out additional GOP or Republican seats is to redistrict because they are capped at 38. So the way that you would create more Republican leaning districts is to redistrict and to chip away at democratically held or districts that are held by the Democrats. Okay. This move, quote, to me, this is my quote, not the Tribune, this girl right here. This move exposes a cowardice in the administration, and somewhat of an indebtedness of the top leaders here in Texas. You have to be some type of coward to try to make this type of chess move or gambit, as quoted in the Texas Tribune, that you don't know how to play fair. You're cheating. You're like you're playing it real close to cheating. It's almost like when somebody tells you the truth but they omit other parts, right? It's like, yeah, you pretty sneaky with this move. So in an attempt to gain or to maintain majority and a lead in the upcoming 2026 midterm election, President Trump has asked Governor Abbott to call a special session. It's a whole bunch of GOP states around this country. But again, Texas is the second largest, most populated state, second most populated state. So he can't ask Governor Newsom. Gavin's not doing it out in California. So we have Governor Greg Abbott that is doing this special session. And in this special session, they will look at, and they probably have already started with the maps, because again, you take the census in the year that ends in zero, but you can steadily look at how your state is growing. You don't have to wait to the census to have a ballpark, an idea of where the growth is in your state or in your city. You can there are certain um signals that show you what the growth is in your area. So as we move forward, we will see an attempt. I don't know if it's going to pass the Texas legislature. The Texas legislature is Republican, but maybe some of the legislative members will refuse to play along. I doubt it. I have seen where current members of Congress from both parties are opposed to this, some more adamant than others, but they are opposed to this because it does chip away at our democracy. But we only have 38 seats in Texas, which is a lot actually, but we have 38 seats in Texas, House seats or House districts, congressional district. When you hear the phrase congressional district, it's talking about a district, a House of Representatives district. In Texas, we have 38. Of which, so of that 38, only 12 are held by Democratic uh, members of the Democratic Party, plus one that would have been held by a Democrat, but for his death earlier this year on March 5th. And that was Houston's former mayor, Sylvester Turner, who passed just a few months into his first term as our congressional representative for the 18th congressional district, representing us in the House of Representatives. Generally, redistricting again occurs after the U.S. Census. Here we are in 2025, our legislature is preparing to redraw maps to give favor, literally to give favor to another party. We know that's the game. Anytime redistricting happens, it is more often than not, whichever party's in power will utilize that power to be more dominant. So let's not act like this is not that, because that is actually what happens more often than not. However, the difference with this is an attempt to override what you've already decided after the census. This is an attempt to manipulate the upcoming election. So let me pause right there. An attempt to manipulate the upcoming midterm election, so November 2026. I've said this, if I had a dime for every time that I have said this throughout my life, if I had one dime for each time, I would be a multimillionaire. I say this all the freaking time. If your vote did not matter, if your vote was not effective, if your vote was not powerful, it would not be attacked at every single turn. For someone to want to manipulate the voting districts, literally the congressional districts. We vote, and that determines who is in the House of Representatives. If our votes were not so important, people would not manipulate the system like this. That is why we must register to vote. That is why I have been on y'all asses about being informed voters, being registered voters, checking your voter registration, helping other people register to vote, becoming a person who is certified to register people to vote, educating other people about voting, because your voting matters. It's clear. Anybody who's trying to hold you down, they're trying to hold you down because you have power. That's just like a hater. Haters are hating because you got something. Okay? Haters hate because you got something. They come for you because you're willing to call them out, because you got something. You got a voice. You have a voice, and it's called your vote. But you got to own your vote, and you got to treat these elected officials for who they are. They are your elected employees. You are the employer as the voter. You hire them through your votes, just like you can fire them through your votes. But you can also hire them through your inactive voting, by not voting, by not participating. Okay, I'm going to get off my soapbox with that. All right. So in Texas, I'm going to name these districts. I'm going to name these districts that are held by Democrats in Texas. And I'm going to name these districts and their location because I want you to see a pattern. Because a lot of people who aren't from Texas, they talk about Texas in a way like it's very clear they're ignorant of the geographical layout of the state, as well as the political layout of the state. So Austin, Congressional District 37 is Austin. Congressional District 35 is Austin. Congressional District 34 is McAllen. So Austin, McAllen. 37, 35 are Austin. 34 is McAllen. 33 is Fort Worth. 32 is Farmers Branch. 30 is Houston. 30 is Dallas. That is actually Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett's district. Now, what I want to tell you about 33, 32, and 30, they're all in that Dallas-Fort Worth metro area, right? Then you have 29, which is Houston, 28, which is Laredo, 20, which is San Antonio, 18, which is Houston, and I'm putting an asterisk on that because the 18th does not have a member of the House of Representatives active right now because our member of the House passed away in March. And we, the citizens and residents of the 18th Congressional District of Texas, will not be able to participate in an election until November of this year. Okay. District 16 is way out west in El Paso. And then you have Congressional District 9, which is Houston, Congressional District 7, which is Houston. Okay. Those are the Democrat held, or those are the districts held by Democrats or historically held by Democrats. Historically, for over the last 50 plus years, the 18th Congressional District has been held by a Democrat. So Barbara Jordan, Mickey Leland, Craig Washington, Sheila Jackson Lee, and Erica Lee Carter, and Sylvester Turner. So out of those 6, only 2 of them are still alive. The first 2 have passed, the 4th has passed, and the 6th have passed. So so 3 and 5 are still with us. All right, so let's move on. Gerrymandering in Texas. Gerrymandering, if you need to see a documentary, I want you to watch, and I've shared this before on all platforms, I want you to watch Rigged, the voter suppression playbook, because it gives really good examples of gerrymandering and redistricting, and it even focuses on the state of Texas. And it's looking at that Dallas-Fort Worth area. So watch that documentary and be enriched by the information that's in it. But let's talk about gerrymandering in Texas. The most visible and apparent use of gerrymandering exists in our metropolitan areas. When you look at a map of Texas, so if you look at our congressional map, and think I thought I thought I made a link for it, but I guess I didn't. But if you go to, I wrote it down. Hold on. I wrote it down somewhere. I done lost one of my pieces of paper. But if you go to, oh, I closed it. I can't believe I closed that window. Okay, let me let me get back. But if you look up Texas congressional districts, um, and you pull up 2025 districts. So when you look at the districts, congressional districts for the 119th Congress, that's what you can look at. Texas congressional districts for the 119th Congress. It shows you the most current map. This is the same map we've been using since the most recent redistricting. When you look at that map, you'll see, so Texas, that top part, which we call the panhandle, they are cookie cutter districts. They are damn near perfectly cut out squares, right? And those, well, not the districts, the counties in that area are cookie cutter, but the districts are pretty clean too. And those districts are massive. They are super, super large in size. And that is because they are so rural. That's why they're so big, is because they're so rural. So it requires more counties, more places to be included in order to reach that average size of a congressional district. So, what is the average size of a congressional district? The targeted size, or the average size across the country, is about 666,000 people. So actually just shy of 667,000. 766,987. So just shy of 767,000 people on average make up a congressional district based on the 2020 census. That is the target. Here in Texas, again, so the 13th, the 19th, the 23rd, the 11th, the 28th, the 34th, the 15th, right? The first congressional district. You'll see those have a whole bunch of counties, as well as the 17th district. You'll see those include a whole bunch of counties when you look at the map. And the reason why they have so many counties is because they're trying to concentrate, not trying to concentrate, but they're trying to get to that threshold, to that 700,000 people threshold. Whereas in the more metropolitan areas, you'll see multiple congressional districts in one city or in one county or across one county, maybe leaning into a neighboring county, right? And that is because they're more populated, they're more densely populated. So the more densely populated an area, the more gerrymandered they are. The gerrymandering is when you are basically, we got a square. All right. Now I drew a raggedy county, because county lines can be raggedy. So here's a county, right? And that is a gerrymandered district in that county, right? And then there's another one that comes around it at the top of it. That's gerrymandered, right? And the reason for that is you're carving out a certain demographic, whether it is a socioeconomic demographic, maybe it's a racial demographic, but you're carving out a certain demographic to be more concentrated for voting. So when we look at the Houston metropolitan area, right? The Houston metropolitan area has several congressional districts. It has 36, 14, 22, 9, 7, 10, 8, 38, 18, and I think I said 2 already, right? And 8. Of those, And I added one. I added 27. 27 is further south, but um, and that is Victoria, but it's still in Southeast Texas. But of the ones that are in the Houston metro area, only three are currently held by Democrats, and the fourth one is historically held by Democrats. But our Congress member died. Our member of the House of Representatives died in March, and that election is not until November. That election being in November, let's talk about it, because I've said this and I stand by what I said. If the shoe had been on the other foot and the governor was Democrat and the person who died was a Republican, 9 times out of 10, the Democrat would have just played diplomatic. They would not have played politics. And this is a political game. They would not have played politics. They would have gone ahead, moved forward with having a special election. And I'm talking about in Texas. I'm talking about more southern states. We have this, we're less Democratic leaders in southern states, which are far and few between, especially on a more executive level. Um, they play diplomacy way better than they play politics. Now, a northern Democratic governor might play politics. And an example of that is in New York, when um, one of their congressional members of the House was considered or being considered for an ambassadorship, the the governor was not going to hold a special election. She was going to hold out on holding a special election to create a disadvantage for the opposing party or the other party, much like how Greg Abbott has done here in Texas with Congressional District 18. That's playing the game. That's playing the game. And it's clear cut in the rules that they can do that. But the manipulation is when you try to redraw the districts in the middle of the game, right? We've been playing spades the way we playing or playing Uno the way we playing, but now all of a sudden you want to change the rules. You know, same thing with Monopoly. You've been playing like this. Now you want to add something different to give yourself an advantage, right? So in the Houston metro area, these are our members of Congress. So this is the Houston delegation, so to speak. Um, Dan Crenshaw out of Atascocita. And prior to the 2020 election, his district was totally different. So if you go back and you look at his first couple of terms in Congress, probably his first, maybe his second term in Congress in the House, you will see that his district was included more parts of the urban areas of Houston. So he had like parts of Washington Avenue. If you've ever been to Houston, you've probably heard of Washington Avenue. His district dropped down closer to downtown. His district today is totally north direct, and east, northeast. His district is no longer deep into the metropolitan side of the city or the metro area because of redistricting. Again, as I mentioned earlier, oftentimes with redistricting, they're shooting for a certain demographic or a certain socioeconomic group. Okay. So Dan Crenshaw, Congressional District 2, Lizzie Fletcher, Congressional District 7. Lizzie Fletcher has parts of near, not in downtown, but near downtown. So she has residential areas south of Washington Avenue, that used to be in Dan Crenshaw's previous district, or how Congressional District 2 used to be carved out, but District 7 now has those areas. And District 7 goes southwest and then it dips down into parts of Fort Bend County. You have Latrell. He's out of Magnolia. So that is Congressional District 8. That is West Harris County, into parts of Montgomery County. And so Magnolia, and those communities out there. So that growth spurt that is happening, like Tomball and all of that, parts of those areas fall under there. Then you have Al Green, Congressman Al Green. He's in Southwest Houston. He's also in Brazoria County and Fort Bend County. Now, during this last redistricting, Al Green had to fight for parts of his district that they were ready to chop up, right? Um, the Brazoria County part of his district doesn't go deep into Brazoria County, as Brazoria County is mostly Congressional District 22, but it does carve out like parts of Brazoria County along 288. Particularly, most of Shadow Creek will fall into Congressional District 9. Yes, I know all this stuff off the top of my head. And then there's parts of Fort Bend County. So it's the Houston Fort Bend side, because part of Houston is in Fort Bend County. But it's also like Missouri City and other parts of Fort Bend. Fort Bend, majority of Fort Bend, however, is in Congressional District 22, like in terms of the size of Fort Bend. But three congressional districts, excuse me, three congressional districts are primarily taking pieces of Fort Bend County, which is Sugarland, which is southwest of the city of Houston. Then you have Randy Weber, that is direct south, so it's like between Houston and downtown, and parts of like Galveston. That's Randy Weber, and he's out of Friendswood. Then, of course, the 18th is vacant pending this November 2025 election. Then you have Troy Nails. I'm almost done, but with this part. Then you have Troy Nails, former sheriff of Fort Bend County, out of Richmond, which is again one of those southwest suburbs of Houston. That's Congressional District 22. That district, when it was redistricted, Congressional District 22, let me pull that up on my computer. When Congressional District 22 was redistricted, sorry, they reached deep. They reached deep, and that district now, it's shaped like a blowfish. It's shaped like a blowfish. It has this big part that is in um that is majority in, what is that, Fort Bend County, but it's also dominant in Brazoria County, as well as parts of Wharton, right? And parts of Matagorda County, if I'm not mistaken. You can check me on that, but I'm pretty sure parts of Matagorda County, 119th Congress. But that is a game that is played. So when when you look at how a district can change, that is an example. So in 2020, it looked like a blowfish. Now it looks like a man trying to box. Okay. So previously it looked like a blowfish. It had this huge part that was Fort Bend, and like the tail was over in Brazoria County. But now when you look at it, it's like it literally looks like a figure with its fist up, ready to swing on the city of Houston. It's so awkward. That is gerrymandering. That is legit gerrymandering. All right. Cloud, that's out of Victoria. Then you have Sylvia Garcia here in Houston. That is district number 29. Cloud is 27, by the way. Garcia is Houston, which includes the metropolitan area to the east side. So the east side of downtown, coming up, and then it dips down and it's directly downtown. And then you have the 18th kind of like, so the 29th district looks like, I don't know, it kind of looks like a dog's head, the center part of it, and then it has this like long neck. and this little body. Like, I don't mean to make that gesture, but that's what it looks like. And then you have the 18th kind of going around it, not quite fully around it. So it looks like it's a sweater around that dog. I kid you not. So when you look at these districts, you can see how plainly visible the gerrymandering is. And so the 29th is encompasses a majority Hispanic area, and it dips down into Pasadena, which is our second largest city in Harris County. It dips down into Pasadena, which is known for having a large Hispanic community. And then it backs up to 36. 36 is Brian Babin. In his district is not as populated in the metro area. So it kind of gets those southeastern suburbs. So like Deer Park, parts of Pasadena, LaPorte, right? It gets those in the metro area, in the Houston metro area. But then it goes all the way east into those outlying counties that are nothing but rural. Liberty County, Chambers County, so on and so forth, into other parts of the state, which we might call the Piney Woods. So, like Tyler County, Hardin County, I can't see this last one, Jasper County, and Newton County. I'm naming these things because I want you to have an understanding. I want you to look at it and really see how gerrymandered these districts are. And so you can have an idea of where we are today, right? An idea of where we are today in 2025. And then you can look at the proposals that are going to be coming out for the 120th Congress when we get ready to go vote in November of 2026. They're trying to change it now to manipulate the representatives from various parties being elected to Congress. All right. And lastly, we have Congressman Wesley Hunt, which is the 38th Congressional District of Texas, which is the one of the newer. Remember, we got two new ones. We went from having 36. So Brian Babin's district had been for the past 10 years the newest district, but we gained two after the 2020 election. So 37 is in a different part of the state, but the 38th district is in the Houston metro area because we've experienced so much growth. His district is on the more central west side of the county, or the more central, I would say that, the more central to west side of the county. So it's just west of the 18th Congressional District, and it goes north up to the county line with Montgomery County. It kind of looks like, that district looks like a Simpson character, also with the fist up. The head the top of it definitely looks like a Simpson character. And I tell you no lies, and I kid you not. That's what it looks like. And that is on purpose, that these districts have these odd shapes because of gerrymandering. The gerrymandering, the whole idea of it is to break up the strength of certain groups in voting, and to also make certain groups more dominant in their voting. So in the documentary that I mentioned, Rigged, the Voter Suppression Playbook, they'll talk about cracking and packing. Cracking is to dismantle. That's what we're looking at about to happen. They're about to crack up some of these districts to make them less powerful. And then they're going to pack some districts to just put everybody in one. And that'll probably be more visibly based on color lines, right? And we cannot act like color, race, and don't let nobody tell you they don't see color. Bullshit. All right. Unless they are blind, can't see at all, or they're colorblind. People see color, and in this country, we make decisions based on color. Historically, we've always done that. Okay. So as we look at the gerrymandering and the redistricting that is soon underway through this special session, you're going to have to be vocal. So these are the assignments I have for those of you in Texas. I want you to find out who represents you in Texas, not just who represents you as your member of Congress for Texas. So I want you to find out, John Cornyn, Ted Cruz are your U.S. senators. Whether you like them or not, they work for you. They are your employees. One of them is up for performance review. Okay. They're looking to keep their contract with your company, right? So that is John Cornyn. He is up for re-election in 2026. But right now, he works for you. Make him work. So flood his office, demanding that he publicly opposes this. Flood Ted Cruz office, even though he's not up for re-election. I know y'all feel how y'all feel about Rafael Cruz, but flood his office too. Okay? Demanding they make public declarations against this redistricting, this mid-decade redistricting, because it's manipulative on its face. It's some bullshit on its face. Then I want you to reach out to your state senator, right? So the state of Texas has 31 state senators. You have one, okay? Reach out to your state senator. Reach out to your state member of the House of Representatives, okay? And demand that they publicly oppose this, okay? Reach out to your county judge and make sure that they publicly oppose this, because it will have implications on your county what happens congressionally, okay? So every county has a county commissioners court made up of 5 people, 4 commissioners, and a county judge. These people work for you. You hire them through your votes and through your non-votes when you sit on your ass and don't go out and vote. That's how you end up getting just any old body. You'd be like, how do these people keep getting elected? Because you're not voting. Because it's clear your vote is important, or else people wouldn't be trying to manipulate the effectiveness of your vote. So y'all can just ask that ideology. So if you're watching on YouTube or on Facebook, you should see the ticker going by at the bottom. And if you're on TikTok, I'll tell you what the ticker says. It says, find who represents you in Texas. And then the ticker has WRM, if someone can put it in the chat, WRM.capital with an O, right? Capital.Texas, Texas fully spelled out, .gov/home. WRM.capital, CAPITOL.Texas, TEXAS.gov/home. And the reason why I want you to go to that, you will enter your full home address. Remember, representatives are based on the location of the people. Thank you, Leslie. Representation is based on your location. So because it's based on your location, you need to put in your address, and it will generate for you who represents you. Lastly, and very important, check your voter registration. Make sure your voter registration is up to date. If you're in Harris County, you would go to our county administrators website, if I'm not mistaken, just go to harrisvotes.com and click on registration, and it will take you to the proper website. So go to harrisvotes.com? Hold on, let me look. I just want to be sure. Yeah, harrisvotes.com. Go to harrisvotes.com and click on registration, and it will take you to the proper website. Once you're there, you can put in your last name. You can literally just put in your name, and you can check your voter registration. Make sure it's reflective of what your identification says, and make sure it is up to date. That is critically important. Make sure that it is up to date, and make sure that it reflects your identification. If it's not accurate, if it's not up to date, updated. Now in Texas, again, this is purposeful. As advanced in technology, as many technology companies we have here, as advanced as we are, as wealthy as we are as a state, it makes absolutely no sense that we in Texas do not have online voter registration. I am appalled by that, but we don't. So if you are in Texas and you're trying to register to vote and you do it online, baby, you are not registered. Okay? You are not registered unless you print that and you mail that. You are better off going to a public library, going to the post office, seeing someone at a school, probably your hairstylist, your barber. Me, you can reach out to me, prettypaidedpolitics@gmail.com, and I will help direct you to get registered wherever you are in Texas. I cannot register you in every county. I can only register you in Harris County right now, but I can direct you to groups and individuals who can help you get registered to vote. The fact that voter registration is not easily accessible through online voter registration is reflective of the intent to reduce the number of people who vote. If you have moved, you need to check your vote. You need to update your voter registration. Your voter registration needs to be up to date. Your ID needs to be up to date. This is critical. These are the ways that people are going to say you are committing voter fraud. Voter fraud is not just non-citizens voting. Voter fraud also can be you're making a mistake and forgetting to update your voter registration. So make sure that your voter registration is up to date. Okay, please make sure that your voter registration is up to date. So now I have talked about this redistricting, and I've talked about it without going too in depth. And that is purposeful because I just want this to saturate. I'll follow up with another video about that. I do want to address Kim Paxton. So, State Senator Angela Paxton announced through X today, X, the platform formerly known as Twitter, she announced today that she has filed for divorce, and the divorce was filed today from her husband, the state of Texas Attorney General, Ken Paxton. Her public statement and his public statement are so far away from each other. One should be the Milky Way and one should be the pepper in your cabinet. Because that's how far away they are from one another in terms of what their statement said. His was more like, because of the political climate of my election, and hers is like, he cheated. He dirty. And Texas is a fault state as of right now, but there is a move to make Texas a no fault state in divorce. And so, as I look at articles and I look at social media content that others that I find that I who are well respected, their voices are well respected in this area of this political sphere. They're all like, oh, she's going, or many of them are like, oh, she's gonna stand up for the fault divorces, because again, there's a move in the state of Texas to get rid of fault divorces. It's a move to have no fault divorces, so you can't blame infidelity for the reason for your divorce, to get that cha-ching ching. So just watch this, how it plays out. People are going to politicize it. People are going to politicize it, saying that it's only happening because he's running for U.S. Senate, because he is challenging the incumbent, John Cornyn. But she also published in her public statement that they have lived separately since last year, since 2024, since I want to say June of 2024. So she waited a complete year after separation to make this announcement. And it just so happens to be that he is running for U.S. Senate. There are many assumptions. I won't even call them rumors. There are many assumptions about what type of unacceptable behavior that's non-biblical, that is outside of the covenant. These are the words that she used in her message on X, in her tweet. So this will be kind of dramatic. It will be kind of soap opera-ish to watch. Does that help John Cornyn in his reelection? It could, or it could help him with his primary. It could, or it could not. There are some people who are just going to be diehards for Ken Paxton and his agenda. So it may not sway them unless it's something extreme. I don't think a baby, I don't think him having an outside child or having an affair or um, paying for an abortion, I don't think any of those things would sway anyone really if they're already set on supporting him. It would take something a lot larger, a lot more, oh, wow, for people to not support him. Now, before I go, we have a gubernatorial election coming up in 2026 here in Texas. So far, there's the Marlboro man. I don't even remember his name because I don't take him serious, because he just popped out of nowhere with no record besides being a millionaire, a multimillionaire, land owning farmer out of East Texas, born in the Houston area. But there's not really much about him, so I'm just calling the Marlboro man. He's going to run for governor, but I'm looking forward to hearing who's going to run from governor. Yes, Mary, you're right on TikTok. I'm looking for who's going to run against Governor Greg Abbott for governor, both from both parties. Who's going to challenge him in the Republican Party, if anyone, and who would challenge him from the Democratic Party? I'm really interested in this. Please stop saying James Tallarico. He does not need to run for governor. And let me get on my soapbox. Too often, we just feel like, oh, somebody is so bad, or I just love this person so much, they should run for office. Y'all tell me that, even though I tell you I don't want to run for office. I like my private. I like to do me. I don't want to run for office. Now, will I take one for the team? Perhaps. And that's a small perhaps. But everybody ain't meant for every office. Some people are meant for the office that they are in. Tallarico is very effective, and he's one of the only effective voices in the Texas House of Representatives. Leave him where he is so he can continue to be effective. Don't pull him out of that to where he's in a position where he has no allies. He would have no allies, probably, as the executive, right? Except for the people he appoints, not even his lieutenant governor, because lieutenant governors in Texas do not run on the same ticket as the governor. They run on separate tickets. Okay, the lieutenant governor has his own agenda separate from that of the governor. You got to learn civics. You got to learn the civics in the state where you are. Okay. So leave James Tallarico out of this conversation about running for governor. He is very effective where he is, and he needs to remain there. And also stop this. Y'all following these AI posts about Jasmine Crockett sending in multiple helicopters. I saw that online today. And I was like, this person cannot be this gullible to repost this. And then I clicked it, and there were so many other gullible people, and I was just like, we are doomed. But Jasmine Crockett is effective where she is in the House of Representatives for the U.S., for the U.S. House of Representatives. She used to be in the Texas state legislature as a member of the House of Representatives. All right. She does not need to be the governor of Texas. First of all, y'all act like Texas ain't Texas. Y'all act like y'all don't know the history of Texas. That ain't about to happen no time soon. Okay. So why would you want her to lose her seat, her coveted seat that is already being attacked with this redistricting? Why would you want her to lose that seat, that vote in Congress, to lose a governor's race in Texas? You think of Texas, yes, it's huge, but it's very rural. And then you have these urban pockets, right? The urban pockets, we do what we can and we do it well. But those rural areas do what they know. because there's no diversity there. Okay. So no, Jasmine Crockett would not be elected as governor. I know y'all like to see her. You like what she does. I like Jasmine. I went to school with her. So I know her character, right? So yes, she's good at what she does as both an attorney as well as her effectiveness in the House of Representatives, the US House of Representatives. But she is not going to be the next governor. So stop that conversation. Okay. I really want to make that clear. And I know we love to say Beto. Beto has ran for multiple statewide elections and has not won. Beto is super effective in the lane that he is in right now, galvanizing voters, getting people educated about voting, getting people to the polls, galvanizing other people, helping them to become elected. He is great at that. He's great at it. He's like, he has a green thumb. You know how you have a green thumb for growing plants? He has a green thumb for growing electorate awareness as well as helping other candidates get elected. So let him stay in that lane. We have to let people flourish in their strengths, not in our desires. Ooh, that's a word. Let people flourish in their strengths and not in their desires. Some of y'all do that to y'all kids. They can't flourish in their strengths because you're so caught up in your desire for them. Let them flourish in their strength. Their strength is not for the status you want them to have. Come on, Romans chapter 15, verses 1 and 2, but it's for their service to others. When you're true to your strengths, the world becomes a better place. But when you play with your strengths in order to please man, you're cheating yourself. And that's why people be having these quote unquote, what we like to call midlife crisis. But it don't be a crisis for the person who's making the decision. It'd be a crisis for everybody around them who has benefited from them not doing what they truly desire and benefited them from not leaning into their strength, but doing what other people have desired for them. All right. So I'm going to get off my soapbox. I hope that resonated with y'all. But it's really, really critical that, again, we pay attention to this special session. I would recommend that you go to Texas Tribune right now, texastribune.org, and there's an article from the homepage. It's under the category Congress, and that article, the author of the article, her name is Kayla Guo, or Guo, Kayla Guo. I can't pronounce it, so I don't want to chop it up. But it's an article published earlier today, this morning, July 10th. I want you to read that article so that you can get an understanding of what is to come with this mid-decade, right? Mid-decade redistricting, as she calls it, gambit. But like I said, it's a chess move, but that's what a gambit is anyway. So this rare move, they tried it before and it came back and bit them. They tried it after the 2010 and it came back and it bit them really bad during the same president's midterm, the midterm election from President Trump's first term. It came back and bit him in the butt, right? So history has taught us this already. And there are members of Congress from both parties who are opposed to this because, one, it goes against democracy, but also, two, the impact of it could come back and be troubling for those who are pushing it. Now, I will reserve my other thoughts about this until maybe later. But I do want you all to pay attention to what's happening in Texas. Even if you do not live in Texas, pay attention to this move to redistrict these 38 seats. Make sure you're paying attention to districts 37, 35, 34, 33, 32, 30, 29, 28, 20, 18, 16, 9, and 7, because those districts will be targeted. And each of those districts are in a more populated area, and those are the only seats out of 38. Those 12 of those are currently held by Democrats, and then the 13th one, Congressional District 18, is vacant until November, but 99.9999999% sure, I'm that sure that a Democrat will be elected in November to complete the 119th Congress, which ends at the end of 2026. And in the primary in March, whoever wins that primary for the 18th will also win that general election in 2026. But this redistricting will have an impact on it all. So please pay attention to it. It will impact you no matter what state you live in, because the whole goal of it is to widen the gap in Congress, in the House of Representatives, in the US Representatives. The whole point of it is to widen the gap because it's so close, Republican to Democrat. Okay. And we have had a few Democrats pass away this year, at least two that I can think of. So this will widen the margin, because the margin is very, very thin right now. So this move is very political and it's very partisan. Okay. Again, President Trump's team has asked our governor to redraw our congressional map to boost the Republicans for the 2026 election and moving forward. Again, we don't have another census till 2030. So I hope this information was good to you. If you watched it live and you missed some of it, or you want to replay it, or you want to share it, you can always go to our YouTube page, Pretty Petty Politics, to learn more. Again, I thank you. Before I go, I did a video on Facebook last night and I want to talk about it. We have a bunch of people running for what is that? They are running for Congressional District 18. I want you to look at the FEC. Look at fec.gov. You can type in the names of the people who are running for the 18th if you know them. There are a lot of them. You can go to Ballotpedia and look it up. There are over 25 people running for this seat. Only 3 of them have reported raising any money. Only 3 of them. And I'm surprised, because I thought a few others would have reported, which makes me give them a bit of a side eye. But only 3 of them have raised money. Harris County Attorney Christian Menifee has raised $391,000. Amanda Edwards has raised $375,000, and then Isaiah Martin has raised just about 71,000, has raised 71,000, based on the most recent quarterly report, which ended last Monday, June 30th. Okay, so quarterly, people seeking congressional office have to report their fundraising. So that was last Monday. And so just pay attention to how the fundraising is going. I take people serious as they raise money, because that shows that they're doing the efforts to get the word out there about themselves and about their campaign. That means they have people on the ground advocating for their election. That means people are probably being paid and not just being asked to volunteer. And people need money for their labor, especially in this economy. I'm just going to keep it real. That also means that they're paying for text. I know we hate the text messages, but they are effective. They are. For text, for paying for those mass emails, paying for signage and t-shirts and advertising on television. That comes with running for Congress. This is not your high school homecoming election. This is not an SGA election at your kids' middle school. This is the US Congress. Okay. So take it more serious. I have been a critic of people playing on social media with this thing. If you're looking for some likes and popularity, baby, please go do something else. Do not waste our time trying to run for office if you're not going to be serious about it. Okay. Um, Isaiah Martin, Isaiah Martin has utilized social media very well because he's probably live right now on TikTok. But I'm not going to discuss candidates right now. I'm trying to hold off a little bit longer. But Isaiah Martin, I think he's making the bulk of his money through TikTok for his campaign. And we'll see. This is a new generation. That's a new way of doing things. But again, he's one of three who's raised money, and the money he's shown that he has raised is significantly less than the other two. The other two do have experience at being elected in being elected by a large body of people. Amanda Edwards is a former Houston City Councilwoman at large. So that means everyone in the city who voted, she appeared on their ballot. It wasn't a district, it wasn't just reserved for one district. So that shows her electability, her ability to be elected in mass. And then Christian Menifee is in his second term as county attorney, having first been elected in 2020. And then Amanda Edwards, she was just elected to Houston City Council. I want to say that was, I forget what year, but it's been several years. It was maybe 2018 or 29. I don't remember what year, but it was in the 20 teens. I just don't remember the year exactly. But she's also has ran for other offices, major offices across the last few years. So again, an experienced candidate. Experience is a part of it. You got to be a good candidate, and a part of being a good candidate is raising money. A part of being a good candidate is showing up and actually having some policy to speak on. It has to be bigger than it has to be bigger than just saying Donald Trump name 50 million times. Like, what you gonna do for us? Because Trump don't live in my neighborhood, right? So what are you doing? Like, what type of funding are you looking to bring? What type of policies are you going to fight for? What have you done for me lately? Okay. So make sure if you're in the 18th congressional district that you are paying attention to that. You are listening for policy and for substantive answers, not just this surface stuff. Okay. I think that's it. Any questions? Any questions, comments before I sign off? Because I have not eaten dinner. I cooked it, but I have not eaten it. Any questions? Going once, going twice, three times. We are out, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for sharing this. Make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube page. If you're on TikTok, you can go to my page and you can just click the link. When you go to YouTube, subscribe. That way you'll never miss when I go live. And then you'll also be able to go back and know exactly where the videos are that you want to go back and replay. I do have a comment here on YouTube. You're welcome, Hannah. Thank you for tuning in to YouTube tonight. But yes, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube. Make sure you're following on TikTok, The Pretty Professor. If you're on Facebook, your family, your friends, you're somebody I know or who I'm kind of adjacent to, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you share with those that you know who live in Texas and who live in the 18th congressional district. There are a lot of mayoral races going on around the country. If you're in Birmingham, Alabama, I'm asking you to support my friend Randall Woodfin for mayor. This will be his third term. So elect Randall Woodfin for mayor if you're in Birmingham, Alabama. If you're here in Houston or in Texas, let's get ready. 2026 is not far away. Primaries, we have primaries in March. If you're in Houston and you're in the 18th congressional district, we have an election in November. All right. There are a lot of people getting ready to announce that they're running for legislative positions across the country. Make sure that you are informed as a voter. Make sure that your voter registration is up to date. I cannot push that. I can't express that anymore. Like, please make sure your voter registration is up to date. Make sure you're doing all the things to be effective. And if you're in any organization, make sure that your organization is spending time helping people get registered to vote, as well as educating them about what the positions on the ballot, what they mean. Because people just vote blindly, but they don't understand what the role is that they're voting on. So please do the voter education as well. All right, that is my time. Good night.